Hey, greetings everyone, it's GleeCon, and we are back with another episode of Lore of Warcraft, the Royal We, the Gleeconians. We are gonna kick off this episode. The last time we read the World of Warcraft official magazine, we almost finished it. We read about the Eye of the Storm, strategies on that, and we read a little bit on what were the gnomes and the trolls going to be up to as they kicked off the Cataclysm expansion. We've also been playing through World of Warcraft Classic. We have Mullen here, who's currently in last place, lowest of all of our characters. We actually have our first level 30 with Shalacir, but we don't even have anybody else that's close. Erator's 28. Farinel's 25. He's going to be the actual next one we do, so hopefully Mullen will get caught up a little bit. But we're getting level-wise close to that halfway through the game. Stay a while and listen as we jump in and continue through Stonetalon. Last time, if you remember, we were doing kind of a mini quest. Well, a quest line, the quest line itself wasn't mini. What we're supposed to do was a little bit annoying because we had to start this quest line in Stonetalon. And basically it was to mess with the Venture Co. You start messing with them, and really the Alliance has its own version, which we did with Callie. Similar kind of thing where you work for a person. In this case, we had to go to Ratchet after killing, perhaps collecting something. I don't remember the exact details, but we had to go to Ratchet, tell a goblin, a Venture Co that maybe knows something about the Venture Co, and he gave us further instructions, or maybe I'm conflating that with the Alliance version. But at some point, we had to, we were tasked with going to Thunder Bluff to talk to Magatha Grimtotem. So you know whatever she's going to suggest is going to be hecka sketch. And it was. She's like, yeah, what we need to do is just completely destroy the Venture Co. at whatever cost, because, you know, the Earth is suffering. They're damaging Mother Gaia, all that stuff, which is sure. I'm not saying that's not true. You know, they're clear-cutting the forest and digging mines, strip mining, blowing crap up. So they're certainly not helping. I don't even know if I don't get a fish on this whole pool, I'm not going to do those other pools. I would like to use sagefish. This spider's going to possibly aggro on. He is gonna definitely aggro on. Can't equip. Can't do that right now. So we're stuck just doing damage this way. Oh, butt sniffer. Oh, that spider derailed my train of thought. But yeah, so I mean, I kind of neglected his fishing a little bit, but I don't want to, because like I said on the previous episode, he's going to be one of our final four when we're trying to do raids and end game dungeons to condense it to make the end game go a little faster. We really, I mean, that ship is kind of sailed. We want to get everybody up to level 60. We want to get all these classes. Yeah, I'm not even going to finish. This is a wash. There might be a small chance, but yeah, we neglected it. I'll have to, I guess if it comes down to it and I'm really wishing I had the fishing, then I'll take him to somewhere else. Like, even the Barrens is, I think he was struggling to fish there. But what we're doing is, yeah, so we talked to them, then she's like, well, we do have a Forsaken regiment that lives underneath Thunder Bluff, and we actually read in, I want to say it was the Sylvanas book, they really gave us some backstory of why there is, why the Tauren have that Forsaken element in them. The Orcs do too, but they're, you know, that's Thrall, that's basically the capital of the Horde, so of course you're going to have a little bit of representation there. Yeah, we're looking for those mages.
It's too far away.
So he is being a jerk. Not. I meant the little dude. Alright, so we got one vial of innocent blood. I'll go ahead and heal this guy. Just to be nice, just give him some love. I mean, he's a level 22. He's got himself. Just kind of letting it ride, letting him fight there. All right. So, sure. All right, so he wants us to, I'm just doing that one. I got my rotation backwards, so yeah, we'll get it going. So we'll get these little watchers going. Got another vial, so I don't think he's on that quest. And yeah, we'll just kind of come in here and help. But yeah, I can't. I mean, whatever. He must just need Syndicate in general, which I'm fine. You know, we need the XP, so probably shouldn't have wasted that on there. But whatever, it is what it is. I just need the mages. These guys. And these are even a little pinch high for me. Okay, I'm gonna not attack. There's a watchman there. And we will... My mana's running low, that's where I'm kind of letting... There we go. So it looks like the drop rate's pretty sick. On this, because I've killed 3 and I've gotten 3 vials, so it's per chance like a level, like 100% drop rate per chance here. Forgot when they're casters, so I really need to up this healing totem. Okay, we just want to make sure we don't also draw that jerky spider, and our totem did. Yikes. Okay. It's probably about the worst thing I could have done was to take the mana potion over the life potion, but whatever. Oh no.
My mana is low.
Yikes. Okay, so I had to bust that off. Let's get this mana thing going. Okay, I'm just gonna... Oh, man. Ooh! That was close. Yeah, so that was a, that was definitely a close one. No, he just needed the rogues, which is fine. I don't care if this guy goes off and does his own thing. I got my well-fed buff now, which is good. We do have our 4th mage. Oh, I probably didn't need that. Alright, I just need one more mage. So let's find one. I do see a packet right here. I think there's a mage there. He got me with fire. here we go. This is the last one we'll need. cool. Alright, so we are now done with that. Alright, so I did help him too. I feel like it was kind of even Steven. I probably wouldn't have gone so fast and loosed if he wasn't there. So I don't really feel like a true he saved me, although he did save me when I chain pulled 50 dudes and did bad potion. I need reincarnation if we're being real. I think I get that skill at 26. Oh, I forgot I can go into Ghost Wolf form. So I don't know what this dude needs, but since the good thing is that since he wasn't on that quest, he didn't need that blood, and we were all golden there. So I'm gonna go ahead and disband this party because I'm turning this in and bouncing. We're gonna Hearthstone back. So yeah, so when we talk to those Forsaken, which as we read in Sylvanas, that's what I was saying before. They're it makes sense. It tracks. They're one of the most kind of accepting and nice races of the Horde. So the fact that they can empathize with the Horde's plight, which is not how all of them, like the Grim Totem, well, you would think since they're so xenophobic, they wouldn't like it, and yet they're the ones that send you right there. So Magatha does, and what do? They do typical Horde fashion where they're like, yeah, let's poison these dudes.
Hello.
And they send us out here to find it, and he says, well, we need this blood of the innocents to create the right poison, and we just got it.
Our time will come.
Did you find the Syndicate Shadow Mages and collect from them the blood?
Very good. I trust the Syndicate gave you little trouble. As I mentioned, the blood of innocence is not an easy thing to obtain. We are lucky the Syndicate Shadow Mages did the difficult work for us. Now hold a moment while I create my concoction.
Yeah, I mean, it's so subjective to what makes someone an innocent.
No one.
Are you an innocent? Am I an innocent?
There we are, Moon. The toxin is ready.
I'm listening.
Okay, return to Thunder Bluff.
If you use it against the venture company, it should produce favorable, perhaps even contagious results. I must say, it is quite exciting to see my work applied in the field, but before using it, take it to Apothecary Zama. She must create a delivery method for the toxin to maximize its effect.
Alright, so even though I wish we were going to be going to Sunrock Retreat with our Hearth, it's still a fair sight better than flying back from here to Undercity, zepping over to Org, and flying from Org to Thunder Bluff, even though this does blow our cooldown. So essentially we need to keep ourselves kind of home-based for the most part around here, which is fine. We have plenty to do, as you saw when we just opened up. But this tracks with about where we're at. This is level 23, the shredding machines. That's another level 23 aspect, which we saw those kind of wandering around. But
Where would you like to fly to?
Alright, so of course we're going to fly back to Thunder Bluff. We're going to turn this into Magatha Grim Totem. I really think... well, this is not the end, actually. What we'll do when we're not Magatha, to the guys underneath. And I'm pretty certain what she'll say is, now go back here and implement it. Deploy it on something. The Venture Co. is happening in Windshire Crag. While we're there, we can also kill these shredding machines. So that's something for sure. We can get done in this episode. We're only 15 minutes into the episode, so that's solid. Then I think rather than this valley is you have to do this on the Alliance and the Horde, some version of the quest where you kill the fire elementals for the Incendrites, and it is just mind-numbing. I just did it with my wife, Lady Gleecon, last night, because for the Alliance, what happens is you pick up the start of the quest, I believe, in Ashenvale. Then they send you to do some things for this squad right here, in and out. It's the one where we did on camera with all the stuff we did with Callie, where we're blowing stuff up here in the mountains and collecting letters and stuff, and then you tell them, then you've got to go travel to Stormwind and Ironforge. They send you to Westfall to get the essence of the Dust Devil. They send you to Ironforge where they request mana potions and fortitude potions, and you bring all that stuff together and bring it back, and it creates the bomb so you can bomb all that stuff. And then they say, well, we're not done. There's this war going on with the elementals we really need to take care of. And then they send you in here to pluck the shrapnel from the trees. I don't know that we have some version of that. I don't think we do. We might pick one up. But yeah, as of right now, I don't know what the Horde version of that wants us to kill those trees. Maybe nothing. But those are just random. That's not the tough part. The annoying part is there's a moderate amount of competition for not that many Incendiarites. You need 10 of them. And the drop rate is pretty low. 1 in 3, 1 in 4. So if you're doing it as a pair, you've essentially got to clear the entire valley loop at least 4 times. At least, maybe more. And it's just mobbed with other things. Now, luckily, we were level 31 or around there when we did it. So the mobs themselves weren't really giving us a threat. And it still was a pain. So when we do it with Old Muln, it's really going to be tough. Now, luckily, we have all these other quests to go with it. Or at least the Harpy quests. But that's something that I'm not looking forward to. I think we'll kind of sort of try to save that for the end, because that is not a delight. Alright, so we need to find... I want to find the one where I don't have to change. I think the lower one, as we saw last time, because there's 2 bridges. But when I say I want to find the one, I'm talking about the bridges over. There are 2. And I think the lower one, let's just go right. We still have to enter the building, though. Okay, no biggie. And then we're going to have to... After this, we're going to have to fly back to... Stonetalon. So we're not quite out of the woods yet. Oh, look. We just turned it the last second. Probably about a wash to pause and turn and then go back. There's a mage. Undead mage, level 60. I'm excited about our progress on this game. I think we have a lot that we can do. And at some point these side adventures will end. There will be a day when our side lore will end. It's going to happen. And when that day comes, that'll double the speed of our gameplay.
Your return, Muln. Do you bring aid from Apothecary Leiden?
Yeah, I bring Leiden's toxin.
A toxin from Apothecary Leiden? Very good. If I know Leiden, then this toxin will be quite effective against the Venture Company.
Okay.
Victory for Silva.
Okay, so she fills a container with the toxin. It's making some poison on the ground. The toxic fogger.
Toxin is ready, Muln.
The toxin is ready. All that remains is its delivery. You, adventurer, must make that delivery. The Venture Company must have a means of sending messages and light cargo between its headquarters and its operations in Stonetalon. It is likely a small skyport. Not big enough for a zeppelin, but perhaps for a flying machine. You must search the areas in Stonetalon under control of the Venture Company and find this skyport, if it exists. If you find it, then place the toxin there. Place it and run.
I'm pretty certain this is an easy quest. I don't really think this is going to give us much trouble. Now, I do want to say as an aside, when we go over to do Wrath of the Lich King Classic / Burning Crusade Classic, when we're basically doing all of these quests all over again, we are going to do them in a more organized fashion. But one of the things I'm also going to do is something I kind of got lazy on with this one, because I was exploring Questy and there were some disparities and yada yada yada. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a spreadsheet for myself and track the quest, but I'm going to also tag each video with the specific quest we do instead of just a little blurb that I do. So it'll take a little bit more work, but then I think it'll make it more useful as a resource, not just for I guess, entertainment value. Or I mean, sure, that's all what this show is. It's just here to explore, and I guess a combination of entertain and inform. I would say maybe a little bit more of the inform.
When mounted on the back of a Wind Rider, one sees that its reputation for strength and speed is well earned.
But then that way it could be a tool as well. Especially, there's just not anyone, particularly once you get to retail, there's no one that does videos in the way that I tackle Lore Master, where I kind of, you know, when you open the map, there's this quest in retail. There's like a quest thing that does it chapter by chapter. It offers explanation and stuff like that. The people that do, there's not a lot of audio commentary like I'm doing, so there's not a lot of verbal. It's all visual explanation, which is cool too. Or the ones that do have stuff like that, there's some really good people that talk and explain, but it's usually technical things like how to win the races in Dragonflight, and even that's iffy because I haven't found a perfect one for that yet. I've rewatched and rewatched some of them to see what they're doing frame by frame, because some of the newer races are pretty tough. For me anyway. Or you can watch videos of like tanks walking you through Mythic Pluses. Some of those are fantastic, where they're walking you through the strategy. They're talking about each pull. They're talking about why they're doing what they're doing, and the mechanics that are available. Those are great. Those are when I was really into at the beginning middle of Shadowlands, when I was really into Mythic Plus tanking. Those are invaluable because you've got to do that, and you've got to run the dungeon a little bit. There's no way around it. You got to do those couple things. So now we've got to place the toxic fogger up there. We're gonna go place it over there in that valley to just, I guess, poison all of them, and then I'm gonna skip Grenzo Wrench Whistle's Arm because that's a tougher quest. We're a little low for that. We'll come back when we're around the time that we're doing Grenzo's orders. We're also going to kill the shredding machine. We're going to do the shredding machines, take out the toxic fogger, and then I don't know where we will. Oh, then we've got to go back to Apothecary Zama. Mother butt. So why this is just painful, and then to put it as a comparison. In Dragonflight, you have that dynamic flying, which is so fast. And I was doing the intro quest line for the latest set of quests that came out today. The first kind of set, it's like a seven-part series, so I was doing the first of those chunks. And there's a quest, you do, I don't know, 7-8 quests, wham, bam, bam, all in a row. And then after you complete them, they're like, okay, well, to start to get to do the next step in the phase or whatever, you have to go back to Valdrek in the capital. Which with dynamic flying, I mean, we're talking like maybe a 2-minute flight. Sure. Do you have to get up? Do you have to fly? Is it exciting? No. It's 2 minutes. You're flying across the world, but it just goes to show you how much they've changed it. Like we've talked about a lot of times on this channel and a lot about in the comments. Like, it's about the journey. They are willing to sacrifice just minute by minute fun, and willing to give a little bit of frustration to the player to maintain the sense of a big, open, real world. And it freaking works. Like, that was one of the biggest, coolest... I don't think if they do that, World of Warcraft is what it is today. Now it's all sacrificed for the sake of, instant gratification. And I'm not gonna lie, like, I don't hate it. So, but when they do that quest, and normally you have to fly, but they don't even make you fly the 2 minutes. They give you an instant, and not to mention, I had a hearth. I was just gonna pop my hearth out just to save the 2 minutes anyway, because also between guild perks and everything, and the different hearths, like I have like between my Cape of Stormwind and my Dalaran hearth and my Garrison hearth and my regular Hearthstone. Between all those different things, you've got... And each one maybe has like a 15-minute cooldown. It's absurd. So you've got so many different ways to... Hearth, it doesn't matter. Like, you'll just pop Hearth. It's not an hour-long cooldown. Now, one thing I wish that they did on Questy, on the pat cycles, I wish they had little tiny arrows. That would be a cool upgrade, where it would show the direction that the mob is patting. And that might be easier said than done for them. Depending on where they're like, if they're just pulling their information off Wowhead or Wowpedia or whatever, then yeah, they're just looking at data points of reported, like in the beta testing or whatever, the reported dots. Not just beta, like real people that essentially work for Wowhead, or they might not work for pay, but they devote time and energy into updating Wowhead, and thank God they do, because it's been a long time. I used to, back in the Wrath days. There's our first one. I used to help with Wowhead. I don't anymore. Because, just because I'm never the first. I'm not that guy. But I hope with the beta testing going on, I look to be a part of that. I'm really gonna, when they open that beta, I really am looking forward to helping out and doing cool. Alright, so that wasn't that tough. We have to kill 2 of those. That's XT9, and I think we also have, yeah, XT4. And we also have to poison every single Venture Co. Just spread the plague all over them like nice citizens. I mean, we're protecting Mother Earth, right? I'm a shaman. That would be Earth Mother, and all that business would be something my character is interested in protecting. Okay, so now we got to keep our eyes peeled for this other one. I'm trying to also thread the needle and not pull any mobs, because I mean, I will, but really I don't want to mess anything up. Okay, that's a footlocker if you were a rogue. This is one of the areas where you could find them to level up your lockpicking. They were just checking the horizon again. I don't know what pat cycle is, so I didn't even see that dude. So I might be moving away from him. And in that case, I guess fighting to slow down is helpful. Alright, so we got ornamental mace. But I think in wolf form at least, it's fast enough that even if I'm going the wrong way, I'm going to be making gains on him. Gotta get those gains. Alright, and I'm just generally trying to... Or I wish there was a way that it would appear on this map or something, like you have to constantly keep opening your map, which they do that sort of thing. All these little... Well, they don't do the directional arrows. Oh. Well, the pat cycle has got to be this way because it doesn't show I'm cutting across. So it's got to be patting from one end to the other. Now I just have to find him. And I'm at the end of the line, so unless somebody just killed him and I'm waiting for a respawn, in which case we're sort of going to be spinning, going in circles here. We're in fine shape for a second. I'm just trying to think if I heard him. I want to do the... There he is. I want to do the fogging thing at the end. There's a couple mobs in between the tiny little goblins that I prefer to not fight. Okay, so I couldn't tell if that warlock was out for business here. So I wanted to... Unfortunately, it was, I guess you could say, it was a little rude of me, but I mean, I don't feel like they had any sort of dibs or anything. I was over here hunting for a little bit and I didn't see them, so We got our 2 shredding machines killed. Now, here is the little tiny flight tower. It's not really big. I think I always, or not always, but I generally would expect something a little bigger when I was looking for this the first time I've done quests like this, because there's another one that's very similar. I just expected something bigger when I'm thinking about like their airport or whatever. I think it's probably better for me to not lightning bolt it up. I think we did the math last episode where it tracks out to be a little better with just keeping the lightning shield on if we're getting low on mana. It does more damage. Alright, there is one little dude up top, I believe. If there's more than one dude, I don't think so. I think we would lose. It's an operator, they're the strongest ones, although they're not that great. Okay, so we're going to place the toxic fogger here, and then we are going to run, baby. Alright, so we're going to get out of there. I don't think you actually have to run. I don't think it matters. So we're putting... Now, I don't know why we put it up there. I don't know what that does. But what we need now... Well, we have... The shredding machine quest is freaking on the border right there. Bum cheeks. Alright, so... I don't know. I guess we're going to run down to turn in the shredding machine quest. It's so annoying that you've got that little mini hub that's where you start the zone, and a couple of the quests kind of still want you to go through there. So we're going to do that. We'll run there and turn that in, and then I guess maybe we'll try giving it a run over to the crossroads and then flying over to Mulgore. Let's see if it's not really that long of a flight from Sunrock to Mulgore, and it probably isn't really that long of one from Crossroads. I mean, we've done that flight a bunch of times too. We're getting close to 25, which will tie us with Farinell. It'll move Mold out of last place and put him in a tie for last. Alright, so we're about halfway through the episode, and we've done the... We're kind of we're really been focusing this whole time on eliminating Venture Co. Now this is going to slow us down a little bit, running to turn this quest in, and then running to the crossroads, then flying to Mulgore, then flying back. That's going to slow us down. That's probably going to take us the next quarter of the episode, and we'll have about 10 to 15 minutes or so at the end where we can get started on something else. If they don't give us anything else, that would set us up to start... Well, we could continue collecting Courser Eyes on our way to being up here to start getting some of the kills. So we can at least make our journey up, just kind of start continuing whatever Jin Zil does, but I hope it doesn't take us, like, so much time that becomes even useful. I mean, useless. This guy says, on the one hand, you have to go. On the other, you're wasting your summer. I think that leans to the not so bright. I don't know what that person is referencing. Public education is dumbing people. Okay. I guess it depends on what you consider a waste. I don't know that I think public education is dumbing people. I mean, this might be a controversial topic, but that it is public education. I don't think it is to make them dumb, so to learn with. Well, first of all, it says learn to do what they're told and not think. All right, well, first you have to remember that public education is a government entity, and it is not like a not for, you know, it's not for profit. It's a government entity, but it's not like this humanitarian organization. And every state charters, state constitutions, you have a definition of what the school system is supposed to accomplish. And in every single state, the first, foremost, and primary goal of public education is to create productive citizens for that state. So, right off the bat, you have to understand, and I think that's the thing that people take for granted, because everybody has to go to public education. You know, for the most part, everyone has to educate their children. That is a legal requirement. You can homeschool, but even if you quote unquote homeschool, there's actually a little bit of teeth in that kind of where you have to show at certain points that you are providing your child with an education and not just, you know, letting them roam or whatever. Now, you can do whatever you want with them, but some states require you to do some kind of state testing. There used to be opting out that you could do. But ultimately, sure, you could probably find your way to weave your way out of homeschool and keep your kids at home as much as you want. If you really wanted to game the system, you're just not going to be able to get into college. So you're not going to be able to get into that. If you're interested in that kind of path in life, you also do have to be careful, because you do have to do the whole providing an education thing. Your parents do have to show at some point, they have to show that they are providing you education. And if it looked like they weren't providing you, you could have, like, you know, whatever state Department of Children and Families or whatever come into that. And that's because it's basically considered a crime to not educate your child.
The destruction of the machines, XT4 and XT9, have soothed many of the spirits of Stonetalon, adventurer. With their loss, let us hope the venture company will remove itself from these mountains. For if they do not, then I fear the atrocities this place has suffered will pale to what lies ahead.
Alright, so she's basically like, okay, we've done good work. I hope that this shuts it down, because things could get bad if they don't. So that's what I think puts public education in such a negative spotlight. You have a misconception of the fundamental goal of the institution. The fundamental goal is not to educate. It's to create productive citizens, productive taxpayers for that state. Because we all like it or not, we all want to live in a society where our neighbors and their children are productive, that they are contributing in the same way that we are, that they are not increasing crime and not like ticky-tack interpretations of what we think crime is, but the basics: robbery, murder, assault, violent crime, that they're not perpetrating property crimes and violent crimes, and ideally that they're, that everyone is working towards an increased infrastructure for the systems that we live in. We want our city to be better. We want things to at least be maintained, whether it's roads, whether it's the ability to use electricity, to have the internet to play games, and so to feel safe. And then educating, teaching the basics, reading, writing, arithmetic, that's secondary. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the fact that it is legally mandated. So it's not the only thing that's legally mandated, but because it's legally mandated for every citizen, and for legally mandated for so long, from the time you're 5 years old until the time you're 18 years old, you are mandated to spend the majority of your time, of your waking hours, in that institution. Now, you have a lot of families that are dependent on that child care. There's a child care piece that goes in, so they feel like their options are very limited. So now it becomes, what do you think of your state's concept of a productive citizen is? What kind of citizens does your state government want? And then it becomes political, because it's not that far off of a 50-50 line in most states what the political divide is. So you're automatically going to be alienating, you know, in the most partisan political type of climates, which is what we basically live in everywhere now. You're going to be alienating about half of your stakeholders, your parents, your businesses, your students themselves, your families. All right, so we now need to fly to Thunder Bluff.
My Wind Riders are trained to fly quickly through the hot Baron's air.
So now schools who are either completely or largely funded by the state, now they're beholden to whatever the state decides the education model needs to be. Now there's some flexibility within that. Of course, each school leadership can do whatever, but you have to do things like assess certain standards and assess students with state testing, to check for mastery and proficiency and growth and all of that stuff. So there's so much state oversight and state fingers in the pie of what each school has to do. So now you can then look back and say, all right, well, education is terrible. It's dumbing down America. So we go back to that original point, or it's making people stupider. Well, I don't think that's true. I think that's almost impossible to do, but it might be depriving them of the same sort of educational explorative opportunities that maybe someone my age might have had growing up, while at the same time exposing them to other things, technology and experiences that maybe weren't there when I was growing up. But on the whole, there's certainly been a big shift. And if you live in a state where the state is really, really meddling or really putting an intense control on the school system, and if you don't agree with the state's doing, then yeah, you can have a disaffected populace. And I think a lot of people have that. You know, I think if you have regrets about your own youth, if you're not happy with your own career and where you ended up now, it's very easy to look back at that, 13-year period or more of your life and say, well, that was a waste. The things that I learned there are not the things I'm using now. And that frustration is so understandable. And I think there's a misconception about a lot of what happens. Like, no one would argue for most of elementary school. No one would argue that those skills are not valued. When people say education blows, they're not talking usually about elementary. No one thinks it's a bad idea to get someone to reinforce or teach your alphabet to you, to teach you to read, to teach you basic sentence structure, grammar, syntax. And yeah, good parents from their time are young, sure. Are they teaching their children how to count, how to read, how to do basic phonemic awareness, how to do letter recognition? Absolutely. But very few parents, the extreme minority, and I'm not saying they don't exist, are sitting there teaching grammar, sentence structure, reading and writing. They might be helping, with their weekly little homework at night or whatever, but the school system is doing that. The basics of science, things that we kind of keep in our back pocket that we know, like the states of matter, basic geography, like humanities and social studies at the lowest elementary level, your multiplication, your times tables. These are things that do have value. They do, and I don't think anybody argues that it's probably. I don't think anybody's like, well, I don't ever need to know what 2 times 12 is. But I don't think as many people would drill down on that if it wasn't taught in school, because you might just forget to. You might not spend, you might work all day and take care of your kids and feed them and play with them and run them around and clean the house and forget to go work on long division, even though division is a pretty valuable skill to have, even in the age of smartphones, because you want to be able to tell if you push the wrong button.
You found the port. Well done, adventurer. I am sure the goblins were quite surprised from your delivery. Let us hope that Toxin finds its way to their headquarters. You have served your people well, and I advise you to ignore any guilt you might harbor for poisoning the Venture Company. They are deserving of far worse. And if there is one mode of wisdom the Forsaken might teach its allies, it is this: do not shy from dark paths, if those paths lead to victory.
Okay, so we just got some silver for that, and basically a lecture from the Horde, which is, hey, you did it. You accomplished your goal. We really hurt the Venture Co., and they probably can't bounce back from this. Earth Mother and all that stuff is happy, and we had to get our hands dirty to do it. So the Forsaken's message is, and this is part of the lore of the Horde, the Forsaken represents that element of the Horde is, we're going to win regardless of the unsavoriness of the cost. Alright, so now we're going to fly back, and like I was almost spot on, we've got it. We're going to have, when we land, about 10 minutes to get started on that quest, which I think would allow us to run up and start the killing, and we'll probably just log out in the heat of a moment. We won't be in action zone, but we finished that quest line, and just for the sake of making progress, we'll push forward a little bit.
On the back of a wind
All right, so we
rider,
got to
one
fly one
sees
more
that
time to
its
Sunrock
reputation for
Critique.
Strength and speed is
So to wrap up my lecture, we had a lecture from the apothecary, but really I'm lecturing. I'm just as guilty of that. But I would say that for most people, when they express their frustrations with education, they're thinking of secondary education. They're thinking of the experiences, the struggles, the failures, the frustration, the bad teaching, the anger, the discipline they may have experienced. They're thinking about all of that. The times when someone or something about education really let them down, or made them feel less than, or made them feel like their time was wasted. And then they get to college, or they get to the workforce, or they are unemployed, or wherever they're at in their life today, and they just have regrets or frustrations, and they wish that it was all different. Because I had to learn about, the quadratic formula to do an equation, equations in math, and I had to do that to even pass high school. Or I had to learn, the Pythagorean theorem, and maybe not everyone finds value in that. Or I had to learn about the different amendments in specific detail, and I don't care about that. Or I had to learn chemistry, and I don't care about the atomic weight of oxygen. Or I had to learn how to write a 5-paragraph essay, and when do you ever write 5-paragraph essays? And I was pushed to read, and I never read. I don't like reading. And I think that misses the spirit of what education is, because those are all the specific actions that teachers are pushing you to do. And I think most teachers don't even realize that. I think an algebra teacher thinks they're really making you learn the quadratic equation. I think a lot of them think that. I think your English teacher really thinks that you need to learn what transitions work, which grammar, what prepositional phrases are appropriate, what's the grammar that's appropriate. How do you do a transition? How do you do a thesis statement? And all of these core content teachers think about these things, and the students that are in them, and they just can't shake the idea that this is pointless. I'm giving you a skill that, let's be real, most of you won't use. 88% of jobs do not use math at the level of algebra or beyond. 88% of, not just jobs, 88% of college degrees do not use math at the algebra, beyond the level of parts of algebra. And that's college degrees, so even less are using it in the workforce. And even when you're doing math in the workforce, you're not... I use math every day, and I don't sit down. I don't really do equations. Now, I might have algorithms that I work if I need to find like weighted averages or something like that. You need to know how to use spreadsheets. You need to know how to do that. But I think if people change their mind to think about the core content areas, the science, the social studies, the English, and the math, if they thought about it in the same way that we think about the other skills that we practice in our life, I think the entire finger pointing might ease up a little bit on education. And that's, we have no problem jogging around, you know, the park for hours every week. Why? Because it makes our heart fit. We have no problem doing push-ups or jumping rope, or doing a treadmill or an exercise bike or a row machine. And we do not do those things because there's never a situation, like, you could do, 1,000 push-ups a week. There is never a situation where someone's going to be like, we really need you to, with a straight back, push yourself up repeated times, like, 20 times over and over. If that doesn't happen, you're not going to finish this job, or you're not going to be able to complete this task. It doesn't happen. And I'm a coach. I've been a coach for a long time. There's never a point in a game when I need someone to run repeated suicides. It's just not happening. And yet we understand we are completing those tasks so that the associated muscles are primed and ready to go for the complex, very specific, instantaneous decision-making and actions that we need to perform with high degrees of success. The same thing can be said for math. The same thing can be said for these other skills. You are not going to do an algebraic equation, but you are very likely going to need to problem solve, perhaps with drawing figures. You're going to need to be able to do some computation. You're going to need to be able to use, important above all else, logic. So the ability to work with algorithms and use logic is part of almost every job. I would say every job. I'd say even if you're looking at like a manufacturing job or whatever, you're creating your own system, perhaps your own algorithm to reduce your workload, to parcel out what you're going to do, so on and so forth. So when, in the Greek days, when they offered education, in the, frontier times when they had school marms, in, the 1800s, in this, in the area, in the time of the Constitution, and states are making their own constitutions, when they're mandating education, it's because the founding fathers realized that a lot of these parts of the brain need to be actively cultivated. You need to actively work on your logic centers of your brain, your communication centers of your brain, your decoding centers of your brain, the scientists, the observational experimental parts of your brain, not so that you can perform these very specific fields, although some people do. Sure, thank God they do. Thank God we have high-level mathematicians and scientists so that we can have a freaking iPhone. Thank God for that. Or so that we can have World of Warcraft texture pack updates, But that argument doesn't work for most of us because most of us won't do that. But if you realize, your ability to solve problems is important, and all of this other thing. So that's my lecture in a nutshell. I wish that there were more people that thought of it like that, because do I think that education is perfect? Absolutely not. As no political entity is. I don't think the tax system's perfect. I don't think the gross waste of funding that happens with a lot of government-funded projects is appropriate. I don't think, the two-party political system, whatever. You know, there's a way that you can look at lots of parts of Element, the monolithic parts of government, and offer valid criticism. And education is a branch of that. But to throw the baby out with the bathwater and just say education's making people dumber, I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's the case that teaching these things. Now, is it inefficient? Sure. Could it be better? Absolutely. Do I wish it was better? You're darn right. But I think we just... that's my lecture. So you never know what you're going to get on this show. This time you get me talking for almost half of an hour about education. So there is... my grandma was an educator. It's a topic I feel very passionate about. I was not a great student. I might have talked about that on this show before. There's in no way, shape, or form. I was a good test taker, but I was lazy. I was a procrastinator. I was in trouble constantly. I was placed into alternative education sites. I frustrated my teachers. I got in fights. I, burned all my strikes and was probably sniffing a life of expulsion. But then I also wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for professors in college that took a chance on me, teachers that gave me opportunities, my grandma, and others that taught me at crucial formative stages of my life. And I think a lot of people could probably say that. I think a lot of people found something at some point and they realized that they loved this thing. Not everyone. I wouldn't even say most people, but I think there's a lot of people out there that find something they love and a passion because of education. And people are smarter because of it. Because if you think the world would be better with less education, I think just go look at some of the parts of the world that struggle. And I think that's a hard argument to defend. Alright, so we have gotten all the Corsairize we need. We do still need Stonetalon sap from these little buggers. These slimes. So we can get that up here. We also need the whiskers, which we can get up here. The Fey Dragon scales are also up here. And while we're getting those things, we can kill these various dudes. We're just gonna go walk to a safe spot, and this is where we will log out for this episode, since I have just bore down hardcore focused on non-World of Warcraft lecture. And if I piss you off, I'm sorry. Everyone's entitled. I'm not, just because that's my opinion doesn't mean it's right. There might be, I'm sure there's valid arguments where we could say, let's go back to a world where, we just rely on people to teach their own children, and I don't know. But I'm not trying to alienate. I'm just giving my side. I think it's very reductionist to throw the educational baby out with the bathwater. All right, so this is it for old GleeCon. We have another episode in the pipe, 5x5. Thank you so much for watching, for listening. I like that. Salute. Let's look at that one more time. A salute to service for Boom Boom, the Horde, and for Moln, Earth Fury. See you all next time on the next episode of Lore of Warcraft. Peace. Peace.